So you're thinking about retirement. Well, there are 5 retirement fears you have to conquer before you can have a successful retirement. This is Matt Kennedy from the Presley Group. Coming up, we'll talk about the 5 retirement fears and how to overcome them. Plus, Dr. Irwin Kellner from MarketWatch.com joins us to talk about this up and down stock market. That's next on Your Money Matters, presented by the Presley Group.
Good morning and welcome to Your Money Matters, brought to you by the Presley Group. I'm your host, Christy Smith, joined with my co-host this morning, Matt Kennedy.
Well, good morning. Are you still sore from Tuesday night?
You know what? I'm actually getting better because I kept doing the motions.
We had a great event Tuesday night. Once a quarter, we have client events where our clients come out. We have had wine tastings. We had an identity theft workshop talking about how to spot identity theft. But this past Tuesday night, we had a great event. We talked about fitness and the importance of staying fit. You know, we help people with their money. The Presley Group is about retirement planning, helping you plan and protect your money. It's about making sure you don't run out of money in retirement, making sure you don't lose your money when the stock market crashes. Our slogan is financial security in any economy. But beyond just helping people with their money, we like to put on these client events, and so we thought we would have a healthy fitness. What was it? Healthy living after 50?
Healthy living after 50. And, you know, Matt, I get asked this question from our clients. They'll say, Christy, why do you even put on these events? Because they have nothing to do with the services that you're providing to us. And you know, it's quite simple. At the Presley Group, we really want to make a difference in your life. We want to know you. We don't want to meet you once a year for an annual review. And you know, basically that boils down to the extent of our relationship. We want to know our clients. And I can tell you, this past week at our event, we had several guests, and our clients actually get excited to bring guests to our events because they know that, number one, they're going to have a lot of fun, they're going to learn something, and they're not going to feel like, you know, it's a sales pitch.
Right.
And I think that's what people are so tired of, Matt.
Yeah.
You know, they're tired of being sold something.
Well, and I think they're tired of traveling salesmen, too. Somebody that shows up and says, hey, I've got this one-size-fits-all retirement product for you, and then you don't hear from them again. We like to keep in touch with our clients. So we are retirement planners. We specialize in protecting and preserving your retirement nest egg. But we had fun Tuesday night, and we've got to thank the people. Steve Hood with GoBody Solutions was there. He worked us out for about 20 minutes, and I mean, it was so fun to get up and just move around.
Well, the fun thing is that, you know, you don't realize that you're actually getting exercise because of the way that he does it.
It was good.
You know, it was really awesome. And I think that we're going to sign up for a special hour 2 or 3 times a week where several of us in the office can go and meet him and let him give us a workout.
Good. And then we had a nutritionist there, too. Now, I got to tell you, this was the most amazing thing. We're just telling you this to show you the kind of things that when you become our client, you get to take part in. But Cecile Johnson with Body Image Solutions, you may have seen her billboard up on the I-12. She had a chance to talk to us about the importance of picking the right kinds of foods. And the thing I found so interesting was she talked about food combinations and how important
that was real interesting.
How important it is to make sure you balance your acidic foods with your alkaline foods. It was interesting stuff.
You know, Matt, remember when you came to work for me and we were talking about a book that I was in the process of writing? And in fact, we have published that book in the last year. But I remember you asked me, you said, when are you going to publish the book, Christy? And I said, well, when I lose enough weight that my picture will look good on the cover, you know? Well, we have eventually gone in and published that book thanks to a wonderful photographer, Aaron Hogan. And, you know, and life's been good. But the reality is, as we move forward as a company, we know that in the near future, we're going to start doing more television shows. And it makes me realize, you know, I can't always hide behind the guy that can make me look better than what I really am. Well, so I'm going to give Cecile a call, and we're going to start working with her and Steve, and let's see how it makes us feel in a year from now.
Good.
You know, New Year's resolutions are something that all of us tend to make, and few of us tend to actually accomplish. And so, you know, Steve said last night, Christy, don't look at it as a resolution. Look at it as a change, and just start making those small baby step changes first so that you can then move on.
Good stuff.
To bigger steps. So,
well, we want to just take the time to thank them and to all the clients who showed up. And when you become our client at the Presley Group, you get to do fun stuff like that. Christy, today we're going to talk about fear. When you were a kid, what were you afraid of?
Well, I've always been afraid of heights.
And you're still afraid of heights.
And I'm still afraid of heights.
Now, like, does a glass elevator freak you out?
Somewhat. Yeah. I can remember when Rick and I went, and I was very blessed because my dad went on this trip with us, but we were in Paris. And one of my girlfriends had gone to Paris several years before us, and she got this beautiful crystal Eiffel Tower. Oh. And so when we went to Paris, it was only natural that I wanted that glass, crystal Eiffel Tower. So we looked and looked and looked as we shopped all around and couldn't find it.
Let me guess. The gift shop is at the top of the Eiffel Tower.
Yeah. And so my husband said, the only way you're going to get it, you can get one of these cheaper plastic ones or metal ones, but if you want the crystal one, you have to go up to the top with me and I'll buy it for you. So we get on the elevator and I am literally scared to death. My dad realized that I was humming Bible tunes. He's like, Christy, you can stop it now, And so we all do have fears, but I have to say that one of my greatest fears is truly fear of heights.
Yeah. So if you went to the Grand Canyon, you wouldn't just peer over the edge, right?
No.
Okay. See, heights don't bother me. I have a great fear of drowning.
Ooh.
And I don't like snakes.
Oh, no, I don't like snakes either.
Now, my wife, Alyssa, can't stand bugs. I mean, the tiniest bug can show up in the bathroom, and she just starts screeching, oh, ow, ow. I'm like, oh, she must have fallen. She must have cut herself. I go in there, and there's a bug about 1/16 of an inch long.
And that's so hard to believe, Matt, because when she comes in here, she's so organized, professional, and, you would never know that she's got a fear of bugs like that.
So what are your fears? Well, you may have a fear of heights, a fear of bugs, a fear of whatever. But U.S. News and World Report came out with an article in late January, How to Squash 5 Retirement Fears. And what they did, Christy, is they surveyed Americans, and they found that, Americans have really 5 primary fears as they get ready to retire. And we're going to touch on these. Number 1, savings fears. Number 2, housing fears. Number 3, healthcare fears. Number 4, a regular paycheck fear. Think about that. You leave the job, oh, my regular paycheck stops. And number 5, long-term care fears. So we're going to spend a few moments talking about the first couple of fears. And there's a lot of fear right now because the market has taken a downturn. So in segment number 2, I'm going to talk to Dr. Irwin Kellner, chief economist from MarketWatch.com, just to get some idea about what he thinks is going on in the markets. And we're going to talk today about fears. So what are your fears? Well, when it comes to retiring, according to an October Associated Press survey, 82%, now get this number, Christy, 82% of people over the age of 50, but not yet retired, said they fully plan on having to continue to work even when they retire. It may be a part-time job, and the reason is because they say they simply have not saved enough money. You got to save more money. That's the bottom line.
Well, and a lot of times we're seeing more and more people start to plan on a second job when they do retire, a second career. A lot of times they'll say, Christy, I'm going to retire, but now I'm going to open up that small business that I have a gentleman that makes customized Cypress ice chests, like LSU fancy ice chests.
Cool.
And, that's what he always loved to do. And so they'll say, I'm going to go ahead and retire, but I know that I'm going to need more income. And the way I'm going to generate that income is I'm going to do something that I really always wanted to do, but it's ultimately going to generate more money.
This article says not only does working, even part-time, in retirement boost your income, but it keeps your body and your mind active and sharp. We were just talking about the event we had.
Well, Steve would be happy.
Helping our clients keep their bodies and minds active and sharp. The truth is, Christy, when you look at the numbers, it's kind of scary that we really do have a retirement savings crisis in America. I read somewhere the other day that something like 50% of Americans had saved, over the age of 50, have less than $100,000 saved for retirement, and 23% of Americans over the age of 50 are going to rely strictly on Social Security. They just don't have any retirement savings.
That amazes me.
We have a retirement crisis in this country.
Yeah, it truly does amaze me. What I'm finding, and I'm hearing more and more often, is that people will come in to meet with me, and they're in their late 50s. And they really are just now at the point in their life where they can really focus on retirement savings, because in the past they were focusing on raising a family. They were focusing on paying college tuition. They've just now gotten to the point where they can say, okay, it's our time and we're going to save. But unfortunately, if you wait until you're, say 55 to start doing that, you have to save so much money that it's just not a realistic expectation. So I always like to encourage people to start off small and long. When you're young, contribute to that 401k. And it may sound crazy when I say put in as much as that employer is going to match. But if your employer is going to match your contribution by, say, 6%, well, that's easy money. That's free money.
They're giving it to you.
They're giving it to you. And I say take advantage of that opportunity, because the power of compounding interest over a very long period of time will make a substantial difference in that bottom line during retirement. But you're right, Matt. We are seeing more and more people not fully prepared to retire and know that they're not going to have that they're going to have enough income that they can outlive.
Now, we can help you save here, and here's how. Let's say that you are in your 50s or even your early 60s, and you're 5-6 years away from retirement, okay? And you're saying, but Matt and Christy, I'm pouring money into my 401k, et cetera, et cetera. Have you considered a Roth IRA? A Roth IRA allows you to save money that will grow 100% tax-free. We have great plans that we can open for you as a Roth IRA and let you maximize that. If you're over the age of 50, Uncle Sam says you can save $6,500 a year into a Roth IRA. Well, if I'm talking to a wife and a husband, or a husband and a wife, that's $13,000 a year. Do that for 5 years. Let it grow, and let it grow tax-free. You'll be surprised how much difference that makes in your retirement. So if you're interested in talking about opening a Roth IRA to help give you additional savings, we can help with that. 791-5773. That's how you reach us, at 791-5773, or you can go online to safemoneyplan.net.
And right now is the perfect time to do that, Matt, because if you want to make a contribution still for the year 2013, you are able to do that up until April 15th of this year. So if you'd like to learn how you can save just that little extra amount of money tax-free, this is money that is going to come to you when you retire as a tax-free income. You can still learn about that. You can still implement that for 2013. You just need to give us a call and schedule that visit to come in and meet with us. And we can show you the numbers. We can show you the power of compounding interest. And also, we can show you the power of tax-free income.
It's phenomenal. It really is. Okay, we're talking about this U.S. News and World Report survey out, how to squash the 5 big retirement fears. Fear number 2, we'll spend just a few moments on this, housing fears. If you don't have an affordable place to live, consider moving. Now, Christy, I've been helping you here for about 6 years, but you've been a retirement planner now for 17 years. And I know, and we didn't even talk about this before the show, but I know that you have sat down with many people who have an attachment to the home in which they live, and they simply can't move, even though it's expensive and the note's real big and the upkeep and the maintenance is huge. But this article says, if you're wanting to stay near family, consider moving to a smaller, less expensive place. I know moving is frightening, but even more frightening is a lack of money in retirement. And you may have to, right, Christy, let go of the emotion that attaches you to that home so that you can have a more affordable way to live.
Well, and I think that, when we think in terms of housing for people that are retired, you can understand that it is truly a major concern simply by looking on the television and seeing how many commercials you're seeing right now for reverse mortgage programs.
Are those good or bad?
Well, they can be. They can actually be a very good tool. they're really not for everyone, but depending upon your goals and your needs, they can be a valuable tool. We don't do reverse mortgages at the Presley Group, but we do have a lot of great information about it. And I say one of the things that is always important. If you're considering doing a reverse mortgage, wouldn't it be better for you to really learn the facts from someone that doesn't have a vested interest in you doing that?
Yeah, we have no dog in the hunt.
Exactly right. And so,
but we know the facts. I mean, we know the pitfalls. Because you're right, the program has changed. At once upon a time, a reverse mortgage was a terrible idea. And you've taught me they've gotten a lot better, but you still have to be aware of some of the strings that are attached.
But then it does truly let you know how many people do have that housing fear for retirement.
Yeah.
The reverse mortgage program wouldn't be growing by leaps and bounds if that truly wasn't a huge fear among our retired population.
Well, especially if you are so emotionally attached to where you're living and you have a lot of equity, then it may make sense. But if you don't have much equity, you just need to face the facts and downsize.
Right.
Okay, let's talk about one more retirement fear, and then we'll take a break and hear from Dr. Kellner. Healthcare fears. Now, U.S. News and World Report writes, there is reason to be optimistic for your future healthcare cost. The Affordable Care Act does provide medical help for seniors. Look, I know that the Affordable Care Act, Obamacare, whatever you want to call it, I know there's pros and cons, and you hear every opinion out there. But there is one major advantage for those of you between the age of 55 and 65, and that's this. Many people stay on a job until age 65. Why? Because if they quit the job, they don't have health insurance, typically.
That's one of the biggest reasons.
So they have to go out and buy health insurance, and it's very expensive. Well, under the Affordable Care Act, when that law was created and went into effect, it states that if you are between the ages of 55 and 65, before Medicare kicks in, you cannot be charged a premium more than 3 times what a 25-year-old would pay. Now, on the actuarial tables, you're about 10 to 12 times more expensive to insure, but that means if you need to go ahead and call it quits in your late 50s or early 60s and get health insurance, we can actually help look at the numbers with you because it may be more affordable than you think.
And Matt, also, many people are worried about the cost of prescription medication.
Mm-hmm.
That's one of the biggest concerns when we're dealing with our retired population. But, in the Affordable Health Care Act, prescription drug costs are actually going to be lowered in the future, supposedly, if nothing's changed. Right now, we see a coverage gap in the Medicare system where if you've spent so much money in prescription costs, then you fall into the gap. And that simply means you have to pay 100% of the cost for your medication. But with the new Affordable Health Care Act, they are going to somewhat lower that gap, get rid of it, so that if you ever met the gap, you would automatically get big discounts from the manufacturers of the medication. So you're not paying full price for it. Now, that's not really planned to really go into effect until, probably closer to 2020, and that can still change.
That's what I was going to add. This is all on paper right now, but in theory, it should be helpful.
Now, they are implementing one part of the Affordable Health Care Act, Matt, that I think that we should all be a big fan of, and that is that they're going to try to start reducing Medicare fraud. We were meeting with a gentleman last night who said that is his job.
Absolutely.
His job is to investigate and help lower Medicare fraud. And I'll tell you, there's been a tremendous amount of Medicare fraud, and that hurts everyone. It hurts everyone, because if our system's having to pay out more money because of fraudulent charges, then it's going to have to charge all of us more, because they're spending out so much more than they need to be. And so I have to say that is one thing that I really like, is the fact that they are going to truly start actively, looking out and monitoring for Medicare fraud.
I want to give you a website, kff.org. Go to kff.org. That website has a calculator on it. You're going to have to dig around and find it. But if you punch in, let's say you're age 61 and you need health care under the Affordable Care Act, that website will give you a basic idea of how much you're going to have to pay and how much subsidy, if any, you would get. But it may be well worth looking at if you're not planning on working to age 65. Now, there are two other big retirement fears, and that's the regular paycheck fear. We're going to spend a good bit of time on that one because the biggest fear is when I quit my job, I don't have that deposit every week or every 2 weeks. But we're going to talk about how you can turn your nest egg into a regular paycheck when you're retired to replace the check that your employer was giving you. We'll do that when we come back. We'll do that in our third segment. But when we come back, one of the fears, Christy, is this market. And we saw a big downturn in January. The market has remained very volatile. So I had the chance to sit down with Dr. Irwin Kellner. He is the chief economist of MarketWatch.com. When we come back, his thoughts on why the market has turned downward. That's next. We'll be right back in just a moment. Remember, you can always reach us at 791-5773 and online at safemoneyplan.net. Look, if you have a question, when you go to safemoneyplan.net, there's a little pop-up box there. It says, Ask Christy. Just punch that link, punch the link, and send us an email. That link, Ask Christy, will send us an email. You may have a question about a Roth or a retirement savings or any question about retirement. We'll be more than happy to answer that through the website at safemoneyplan.net. Back in just a moment. This is Your Money Matters, presented by the Presley Group. Welcome back. Segment number 2 of Your Money Matters, presented by the Presley Group. You can always find out more about the Presley Group online at safemoneyplan.net. Christy and I are retirement specialists. We specialize in making sure that as you are approaching retirement, or if you're already retired, that you're not putting a portion of your money at risk, that you have a portion of your savings that you know is safeguarded from market loss and allowed to share in market gains when the market's rising, but always protected when the stock market is in trouble. And we can even help you create that guaranteed stream of retirement income. To learn more, simply give us a call at 791-5773 or visit us online at safemoneyplan.net. Now, coming up next segment, we'll get back into the final 2 fears that you face as you plan for retirement. But one of the fears, obviously, is what's going on in the stock market. Earlier this week, I had a chance to speak to Dr. Irwin Kellner. He is the chief economist at MarketWatch.com. We talked about the fear that hit the market in January as the market declined. The article from Dr. Kellner from late January, the bulls are getting nervous. Dr. Kellner, as the chief economist of MarketWatch.com, what signs tell you that there's reason to be nervous?
Well, that was back in January, and of course we've got another week of stock market activity, which appears to have proven the point. The market's fallen another few percentage points from when I wrote the column, and what I saw when I wrote the column was basically a market that was not reacting positively to news, but rather negatively. In other words, the glass was half empty rather than half full. And I looked back and I said, you know what? 2013 was one heck of a year for the stock market, and 2012 was pretty good too, but the popular averages went up anywhere from 30 to 35%, and this was much faster than profits, so the price-earnings ratios for these popular indexes expanded much above average. And I just figured that after a run like that, especially there hadn't been a 10% drop or correction in the market since back in October 2011, I just figured that the bulls were getting nervous, that people were taking some money off the table. And indeed they have.
Fundamentally, earnings reports come in. Some companies are doing good. Other companies are missing their forecast. Are the earnings that you're seeing about in line with expectations?
They're actually a little below expectations, and expectations weren't great this year compared with last year. So if a company beats expectations, it doesn't necessarily mean that the earnings are very good. It means that the bar is just being set lower.
Our guest is Dr. Irwin Kellner, chief economist for MarketWatch.com. Dr. Kellner, we've also been focused on what's happening in the emerging markets. I mean, you look at the Turkish stock market. It has taken a major hit, as well as some of the other emerging markets. How does that correlate to our market? How can a country like Turkey have such a big influence on investor sentiment in America?
Well, again, it goes back to what I said earlier, that when the glass is half empty, things like the Turkish market begin to affect us negatively. At this time last year, what went on in Turkey was probably only of minor interest to the players down on Wall Street.
Well, we have another debt ceiling deadline coming up, and I see that as possibly being another big road bump, a speed bump for the market to clear. What does your sentiment tell you about the next deal that's got to be done with the debt ceiling?
Well, that's coming up quite quickly, as you know, and I don't think that the politicians inside the Beltway are going to play the kind of games that they did the last time when they saw that one of the major rating services downgraded the U.S., and there was question not only about U.S. Politics, but about U.S. leadership throughout the world. What kind of country would default on its debts? And these are debts that were already incurred. In other words, all we're asking Congress to do is pay for the spending that they have already authorized. So I think that this is going to not be the issue that it was the last time around. The politicians will make noise and they'll play up to their constituencies. Mm-hmm. But remember this, Matt, this is an election year for everybody in the House and one-third of the Senate. And you don't need a long memory if you're a voter to punish them if they put us in deep trouble.
Our guest again, Dr. Irwin Kellner, chief economist at MarketWatch.com. I want to go back to something we mentioned earlier. We were talking about earnings. Is this economy mending, or is it an economy propped up by all of the quantitative easing, even though that's been backed off some? Do you, as an economist, sir, see an economy that is recovering?
Well, the quantitative easing motivation was to pump up the stock market and as well as the housing market, by pushing lots of money in the economy and lowering interest rates. And that succeeded, except that only a narrow sliver of the population can relate to what's going on in the stock market, and there aren't that many people who buy and sell houses every year. The average person is still hurting because companies are able to do more with the same or fewer workers, and the more of leverage companies have, the less bargaining power labor has. And the labor, I would remind you, is you and me, the consumer, and together we account for two-thirds of all spending in the economy. So to answer your question directly, there was some temporary lift given to the economy through the stock market and the housing market, but the economy really won't be able to go on all fours unless and until the employment situation improves.
Great insight from Dr. Irwin Kellner, chief economist at MarketWatch.com. We thank him for his time. Just some insight on another fear that people have, and that's the fear of what the market's doing. We saw, like Dr. Kellner said, a pretty major downturn in the major indices back in January. Things have stabilized a little bit, but still there's many question marks about where the market's going and what the market is doing in 2014 after a marvelous run-up in 2013. Question, does the market keep you up at night? If you're retired, if you're close to retiring, does the market, does it give you heartburn? Does it keep you up at night? You know, again, we said this earlier, not trying to fearmonger, but you have to have 2000 and 2008 in the back of your mind when you see the market take a 7-8% dive in the course of 1 month. And then who was it? Franklin Roosevelt, right? The only thing we have to fear is fear itself. So instead of being paralyzed by fear, I urge you, I empower you Give us a call. Visit our website. Learn about how our fixed indexed annuity plans at the Presley Group can protect you from market downturns. It may be very appropriate, like Christy said last segment, if you're still working but you're over age 59 and a half, that you do what's called an in-service distribution. And you'll have to check with your employer on this, but typically most retirement plans, once you reach age 59 and a half, allow you to do a transfer of assets out of your 401k into one of our fixed indexed annuity plans. It becomes an IRA. So there's no taxation for transferring the money, and then you have safeguarded and can safely grow that portion of your portfolio. Now, if you want to leave some in the 401k and keep contributing, that's fine. But it's taking some of those chips off the table, grabbing some of those earnings, and putting them in a position where they cannot be at risk should we have a big downturn this year or next or in the years as you approach retirement. And the thing I love to always talk about is the fact that we can then take that money and, if you need it, turn it into a guaranteed retirement income. We're going to talk about that in the next segment. But coming up, we'll talk about one of the big fears is not having that regular paycheck. Well, at the Presley Group, our plans allow us to take a lump sum and turn it into that guaranteed retirement paycheck. We'll talk more about that in the next segment. Remember, you can always reach out to us at 791-5773. If you'd like to request the Social Security booklet, the who, what, when, how of Social Security, simply call and ask for that at 791-5773. Online, safemoneyplan.net. We'll come right back. More of Your Money Matters and the final two big fears during our approaching retirement. We'll talk about that next here on Your Money Matters, presented by the Presley Group. We're back on Your Money Matters, presented by the Presley Group. Great insight, as always, Christy, from Dr. Irwin Kellner. He's always very kind with his time and has great insight, because one of the fears right now is, what's this market doing? After a great 2013, market fear is certainly there.
I think market fear, Matt, right now is probably the biggest fear.
Oh, I think it is.
You know, and what I want to say to that is that if you're sitting out there working still and you know, getting closer to retirement, many of you don't know, but you may have the option to do what's called an in-service distribution. An in-service distribution simply means that you can continue to work for the company you're working for. You can continue to contribute to your current 401k, but you have the opportunity to withdraw some of that money and transfer it into your own individual retirement account. So you're doing it tax-free, but yet now you're in control of some of the money. Because let's face it, if we have a market correction, and I've read in recent articles that, you know, some think it can be as big as 30%.
Yeah.
You know, if you're that close to retirement, why not take some of the chips off the table right now before a lot of your gains disappear? That's where people go wrong. You know, we've had a good ride, but the problem is that when people get greedy and they can see that they've done so well, they're very hesitant to make a change because they think that you know, that's going to continue.
Well,
they don't want to miss out.
And I'll argue, Christy, we talk about the 5 fears of retirement. I'll argue that one of the biggest fears is the fear of making a change.
I think that is. I agree with you.
You know, people hear us every week, week in, week out. You listen to us, but you don't call because maybe you're fearful of making any kind of change. Let me tell you, here's what makes the Presley Group different. And the reason I quit radio full-time and work with the Presley Group full-time is because we're not stock market pickers. We're not stock brokers. We're not guessing at what's going to happen with your retirement portfolio. The plans we use, the strategies we employ through our fixed indexed annuities mean one thing: you'll never lose a dime due to stock market conditions. And secondly, for those of you who have fear number 4, the fear of not getting a regular paycheck, we can help create a plan that gives you guaranteed retirement income. And the truth is, Christy, I'm so on fire about what we do because so many people say, well, my broker said, you know what, just, hey, keep on buying because now you're buying low and it's going to all be fine. But when you're close to retirement, don't forget 2000. Don't forget 2001. Don't forget 2008. We're not fear-mongering. We're realists. And we are different. And we're different because we make sure, first and foremost, you don't lose money and you don't run out of money. That's what makes the Presley Group different.
Well, I have to say, Matt, there's really so many more things that make us different, but that is probably the number one thing that makes us different. You know, there's several other advisors in the area that do the same thing we do, that are on the radio on different stations and different times. And, you know, I just want to encourage you to give us a call and come see the difference that you're going to experience when you deal with us at the Presley Group. It is, you know, we do have a beautiful office. We are here to stay. You know, this is not a fly-by-night job. I mean, in May, I will actually be in this industry for 17 years. Hard to believe.
You're that old?
Yes, hard to believe. But, you know, the thing is that we make a difference because not only do we really listen, and I find that's the number one key, having your advisor listen to your goals and your dreams and implement tools that are going to help you accomplish that. You know, I can't tell you how many times someone has come in. I had someone just earlier this week come in, meet with me for the first visit. They met us at a workshop in Prairieville a couple of weeks ago. And so she came in and she brought her portfolio and she said, Christy, this is all I have. She said, my husband passed away about a year ago. And she said, this is all that I have. And she had two different advisors because she was scared to use only one, because she knew she only had a limited amount of money.
I think that's smart.
And she just didn't want to. She's told me, she said, my daddy would say, don't put all your eggs in one basket. So she used two different advisors. And what we found was, in looking at the plans that she had implemented, is that one of her plans was meeting her goals perfectly. And ironically, that plan was with one of the companies that we use, Allianz Life Insurance Company. Now, the second plan wasn't going to so much meet her needs. And that was a concern, because she said, how can that be? She said, I told this gentleman that, you know, that sold me this, the same thing I'm telling you, and the same thing that I told the person that sold me the Allianz contract. Mm-hmm. And the difference is, how does your advisor listen to you? How does your advisor feel about this money? Is it their money? Is it their decisions of what you're going to do with this money? No, it is in fact your money and your retirement goals and your retirement dreams. And what you're going to find different about us, because there's many others out there that use great tools just like we do. But the difference is that we're going to really listen to you, and we're going to implement a tool that is going to help you meet your needs. That's what's different about us, Matt. We have a great booklet that talks about the Social Security decisions. If you give our office a call this morning, we're going to mail that booklet to you free of charge. It's called the Social Security Decisions. Many of you think that your only decision is, when do I take the money?
Yeah.
Do I take it at 62, or do I take it at 67, or, you know, early retirement or full retirement? You don't realize, but there are many other strategies that are involved when you consider your Social Security benefits.
Yeah, the booklet is called The Social Security Decisions: Who, What, When, and How. We'll mail that to you, and then if you would like, we'll offer you a complimentary Social Security Analyzer. This is a computer program that we have, and we input dates of birth for husband and wife, expected benefits, and the computer tells us what strategy is going to best maximize the payout. 791-5773. The area code is 225-791-5773. This booklet's valuable because for so many of you, Social Security will be the cornerstone of your retirement. Now, the next paragraph in fear number 4, fear of not having a regular paycheck. Christy, U.S. News and World Report gets it.
Finally, the A word gets a good rating.
They write, tally up your assets and consider purchasing an annuity. This is a financial product offered through an insurance company that offers a stream of payments for a predetermined time.
Well, I have to take that even a step further, because you can buy an annuity that is going to guarantee a payment for a set time period, or you can buy an annuity now that guarantees a lifetime income. And that's really become more, in my opinion, appropriate than a certain time period for a payout on an annuity. You know, there's so many things that we can do out there to help you, because at the Presley Group, our goal is truly to make a difference in your life and help you provide financial security in any economy. Give us a call, schedule your complimentary visit to come in and meet with us. And look, let us send you out today the Social Security decisions. It is free. You just need to give us a call and let us send it out to you. Our phone number is 791-5773. 791-5773.
They also write, now, if you decide to purchase an annuity, be aware there are many different types of annuities and there are different fees. Make sure to investigate the fees and understand the product fully before you buy it. Can I go back to what you said earlier?
Yes.
Don't buy it from some traveling salesman who's going to give you a pitch. Come sit down with someone who truly has your best interest at heart and isn't going to cover up the fees and the strings that are attached. Look, our plans are wonderful, but they come with certain strings attached. And we're always going to lay those out for you so that we have a clear understanding of how it works.
And Matt, too, I would like to say that, when looking at an annuity, it's not something where you have to say, oh, I'm going to only learn from one person. If you've been presented an annuity option from another financial professional and you would like a second opinion on that just to make sure that you do, in fact, understand it, give us a call and come in to see us, because you know what? If you do understand it and it meets your goals, then we're going to tell you go get it.
Absolutely.
You know, it's not like we're going to try to convince you you're making the wrong decision. We just don't work that way. I'm actually in the process of helping a gentleman right now do that exact same thing. So don't think that if you've been presented an annuity that you're out there swimming with the sharks on your own. You can call us. You can bring it in. Let us look at it. Let us help make sure you understand what you're considering buying.
Let me expand a little more on how these lifetime income plans work, just briefly, okay? Let's say that you have a decent-sized portfolio, but you know when you call it quits that your regular paycheck, it's over, it's stopping, okay? You could come see us and you could say, listen, I need, make up a number, $2,000 a month. Because you know Social Security is going to give you some money. You know your wife or your husband will have Social Security, maybe a pension. But let's say you say, Matt and Christy, I'm coming up $2,000 a month short from what I really need to live on. Well, we're going to go pick a plan, and we're independent, by the way, so we can choose from dozens and dozens of plans that gives you a guaranteed minimum of, say, $2,000 a month. Now, if the stock market performs well, you'll get a raise in that income in retirement under some of our plans to help you fight inflation. But wouldn't it make you feel good knowing, well, I got Social Security, I've got my pension, and now I've got this other guaranteed stream of income, and if you leave other money invested in the market, that's fine. But make sure your basic needs are covered, and our plans work perfectly.
I encourage you to give us a call and schedule that complimentary visit. Our phone number is 791-5773. 791-5773. And our office is in Denham Springs. Now, if you live in Prairieville, you might be thinking, oh, I don't want to go all the way to Denham Springs. But actually, we're right off the interstate. It's a very short drive. And I hate to say this on the air, Matt, but Matt does live in Prairieville.
I'll make house calls.
He'll come out and see you. But just give us a call and take that first step, because that truly is the biggest step. It's because of the fear. When people come in to meet with us, they typically have their dukes up.
Of course.
You know, the first thing we're going to do to take those dukes down is give them some hot cookies and a cup of coffee or something to drink, okay?
Yeah.
Not alcoholic, okay? I had to just say that to be funny. But the thing is that we want to try to lower those dukes, because what we really want to do is help you. So when you come in to meet with us, or we come out to meet with you, we are simply not going to try to do any business on the first appointment. We do not believe in that. So what we're going to do is we're going to sit and talk with you. We're going to find out your goals and your dreams, and then we're going to develop a plan. We're going to use one of these tools, 1, 2, or 3 of these tools that we have available to us, and we are going to come back and teach you how can these plans help you accomplish your dreams.
All right, last but not least, we only have 90 seconds left. The last fear, the fear number 5 that U.S. News & World Report points out, long-term care fears. Christy, it's estimated that the average couple will spend over $250,000 on health care expenses in retirement. And if you end up in a home or having to have assisted living or in-home health care, it can be very expensive. Long-term care insurance is not cheap. It may or may not be right for you, but I'm proud to say Christy is long-term care certified, and we are licensed to offer you long-term care products. So if that's a part of your retirement puzzle, come see us, and we can help you. We can give you a quote for one thing to see if long-term care, which would pay for that nursing home or in-home care, is right for you. Because it's more than just taking your money and saying, see you later. It's about creating a full retirement plan that includes even a fun exercise class on a Tuesday night.
We want to thank you all for being here with us this Saturday. We do replay this show on Sunday morning at 8 o'clock. So if any of you would like to re-listen, we do play it again tomorrow morning, Sunday morning at 8 o'clock. Next week, Matt, I think that what we need to do is we really need to talk more about long-term care, because a lot of you listening this morning don't know what long-term care really is. And so I know we're running out of time, but next week, let's really talk some more about what is long-term care.
All right,
okay?
We'll come back and wrap things up in just a moment. Next week, breaking down for you what long-term care means and some of the do's and don'ts, because you can end up with a very bad long-term care policy if you're not careful. We'll get into that. We'll come back and wrap up the show in just a moment. This is Your Money Matters, presented by the Presley Group.